This episode brought to you by thegiveawaygeek.com. Win board games, electronics, and gift cards at thegiveawaygeek.com. The geek that keeps on giving. Hey everyone, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. You know, it's been 2 years now. Actually, technically we're a little bit past 2 years, but it's been 2 years now since I started this channel, and I have just really enjoyed myself. I am really thankful for everyone who has been who has subscribed to this channel, who has watched any of the videos, has found any enjoyment or gained any knowledge from any of the videos at all that they've watched, and I'm just truly thankful for all that. And just like I did last year, I wanted to do a top 10 plus one most played games for the second year of Board Online, Board Offline. And just for those of you who don't know, the year for this channel runs from July 23rd through July 22nd. Because the first video I ever uploaded was on July 23rd, 2 years ago. So we're going to do the most played games. I'm going to kind of share with you where a game might have fallen the year prior, or if it's brand new to the list. There's a ton of new games on this list, actually. And after you watch this video, if you want to, you go over to Board Game Geek, and there is a geek list, which I will link in the description below, that will show you all the games that I played over the course of the year and where all of them fell in the ranking as far as number of plays. So let's jump right into the list, and we're going to start off with a three-way tie for number 11. So already got more games than just the top 10 plus one. But we've got And Then We Held Hands, Lords of Ziddit, and Orleans all tied at 8 plays each over the past year. All three of these games are brand new to the list as well. Let's kind of go in order here. And Then We Held Hands. This one is just a tiny little cooperative game for 2 players only. There's just this little board that you put a couple of stones on. Each of you have different colors. And the idea is it's 2 people who are having some sort of angst in whatever their relationship is with each other, whether it's friendship or probably more accurately an actual relationship. But it's really abstracted out. But at the same time, you know, I guess when you think about it, a lot of feelings are abstract. So in that way, it's thematic, I suppose. But what you're doing is you're playing cards, whether they're anger or happy or whatever whatever card you might have. Sadness is another one that's in there. And working your way around the board, and as you work your pieces around, eventually you want to meet them in the middle of the board, which represents you've reconciled the relationship. And you also have to maintain an emotional balance, which you have that, each card moves your emotional balance a certain amount, and so you're going to be dealing with that. Or I shouldn't say a certain amount, I believe it all moves at one space, but it moves in different directions depending on which side of the emotional spectrum you're playing your card. Really interesting little game. I like it a lot. It usually takes maybe 20 minutes or so. It doesn't take very long. And the catch here is that you are not allowed to speak about the game at all while playing it. You're allowed to speak about anything else, but the rules state you cannot talk about the game itself. Kind of an interesting little twist there. Of course, you can follow that if you want to or not, but we found that if you follow that rule, it definitely adds to a lot of the, I guess really the theme of the game. So Lords of Ziddit is the second game tied for the 11th spot with 8 plays as well, obviously. This one is a programming game. You program 6 moves per round, and you can play up to 5 players, I believe, but you program 6 moves per round, and you're going around and you're either recruiting or you're fighting. Those are really the only 2 things you do. You don't fight each other. You only fight the monsters on the board. However, you have to watch out. You got to worry about where people are going to go. Are they going to recruit something before you can get to it? And you have, like farmers, or I guess it's peasants and archers and warriors and clerics and wizards. I believe the 5 things you can recruit, but you have to recruit them in order of weakest to strongest, because the towns that you go to don't want to give up their strongest fighters. So they're going to give you their weakest fighters first. So you got to plan when you're going to get there compared to everybody else, because maybe you want somebody to get there before you so they can take the weaker one and you can get the stronger one. But sometimes you need the weaker ones because certain monsters are going to require specific characters to fight them. So in the end, there's a little bit of area control because you're basically increasing your fame. You want to be the most famous hero, and that's one of the ways you win. but also the richest hero has a chance, and also I can't remember the third. Oh, the person who has built the most mage towers. And the way the scoring works is, let's say, because it changes up. Sometimes you're going to score these things in different orders, but let's say in one game you're scoring, okay, money first. Well, everyone that had the highest amount of money except for the last guy's kicked out, everyone else moves on to the second scoring. And if that's the mage towers, then everyone who had enough mage towers except for the last guy, he gets kicked out. And so it whittles it down until you get to the person who had the most of whatever the third one is, which, it changes up each game. The fact that the scoring changes each game really adds to the replayability of this one. It scales well. There are parts of the map that you will not use if you have 3 players as opposed to if you had 4 or more players. So a lot of fun. It doesn't work too well with 2 players as a variant. I don't really like it. Really, this one works best with 4 or 5, but 4 is probably the sweet spot for this one, because even with 3, you've got a dummy player you have to use, which is a little bit obnoxious as well. But check it out if you have 4 players in your group all the time. Definitely check it out. 3 players is pretty good too. And Orleans, this is a Euro game that from TMG that really caught me by surprise. I bought it just because I kept hearing people talk about it. I don't really have a whole lot of Euro games in my collection. I've discovered the wife actually really enjoys Euro games, and because of that, I've kind of started to enjoy them as well because she likes playing them so much. So we're getting more to the table, and I'm starting to broaden my horizons. This is the one that really caught her as far as the more complex ones, and this one isn't even that complex, but Splinter's her favorite. Orleans is probably her second favorite, and this is one where you're basically building a bag. You're taking different types of characters, putting them in the bag and drawing from that. You got knights, you got monks, you got craftsmen, all kinds of stuff, and you're going to be building buildings. You're going to be moving through France and picking up different goods. Sometimes you'll produce goods, and in the end, it's who has the most points based off of goods, based off of trade halls that they've built, based off of the progress you've made. You can buy technology to make different things easier to use. A lot of stuff going on in this game. Orleans, out of the 3 that are tied right here, Orleans is probably my favorite, followed by Lords of Zedit, and then We Held Hands is probably just under Lords of Zedit, even though they're 2 very different games. All right, number 10 is Star Wars Imperial Assault. Now, last year, this one was ranked number 8. However, I got 10 plays this year. Last year I only got 7 plays, so it was ranked higher last year as far as number of plays, but I actually got more plays this year. For anybody who doesn't know what Imperial Assault is, it's basically either a Star Wars dungeon crawl where you have a 1 versus many situation, an Imperial player versus up to 4 Rebel heroes, or you can play it as a 2-player skirmish game where you create 2 units. I don't want to call them armies, not really armies, but I suppose squads, 2 squads, and you're going to put them up against each other using various mission parameters and stuff like that. A lot of fun. I have decided that the campaign has a bit of a runaway leader problem, and if you have an Imperial player who is truly just he's locked in, he's doing what needs to be, he is not going to let up, he's going to be relentless. In my experience, that might have a little bit of an advantage. We got crushed by an Imperial player that was like that. That being said, the skirmish map I have recently come to really, skirmish mode I've come to really start to enjoy. And this is a lot of fun. I think that you can knock out a skirmish game anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how it goes, how evenly matched you are, that sort of thing. But the options, the variability, and there's so many different things you can purchase at this point, so many characters you can bring into it, so many expansions. I mean, they're releasing them really fast. I don't have anywhere near everything at this point. I haven't bought any big box expansions, and really I've only purchased the character figures that came as tokens in the base set. So I have almost all of them. One bit of news that is very exciting that will get me to try the campaign again is recently Fantasy Flight Games announced they're going to have a cooperative app is going to come out that's going to take over the role of the Imperial player. This will be similar to the Road to Legend app that Descent 2nd Edition currently has, or the app that Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition comes with. So that's definitely something I'm going to be looking to check out. My number 10, Star Wars Imperial Assault. Number 9 is Tides of Time. This is a 2-player card drafting game. This one got 11 plays this year, and it is new to the list. 2-player drafting is not something that's very easily done. Seven Wonders Duel technically did it, but they had a whole different system. It was not your standard drafting. Everything's laid on the table, hidden information, open information, that sort of thing with Duel. With Tides of Time, it is your typical pass the cards back and forth drafting style, and it works really well. Now, I will say that, you know, I can only play a couple of these games in a row, and then I got to move on to something else. It is a very light game. There's only 13 cards, I think, in the deck. However, you go over 3 rounds, and at the end of each round, you choose one card that you're going to keep that you've played, and it's going to be yours for the rest of the game, play it on the table, and one card you're going to get rid of from the game. You just discard it so that no one has it for the rest of the game. That really adds to the decision making, and this is basically a set collection is how this is working, which I guess really that's how a lot of the drafting games are. But so you have different suits is really what they amount to, and you're going to be collecting them in different cards. You're going to say, well, if you have the most in this suit, you're going to get this many points, and that sort of thing. So Tides of Time, not a whole lot more to say about this one. Gorgeous, gorgeous artwork. If for no other reason, buy it for that. I mean, it's a cheap game. I believe $12 or something like that on Amazon or wherever you buy your games. Definitely check it out. Tides of Time, my number 9 with 11 plays. Number 8 got 12 plays this year. This is Forbidden Island. It is new to the list as well. This is one that I really enjoy because you can play it. My daughter likes playing this, but you can play it with the whole family. It's really easy to get into. Basically, I mean, honestly, it really is Pandemic light, if you want to be perfectly honest about it. This was Matt Leacock's follow-up to Pandemic, and you know the Flood deck is the Infection deck. The deck where you're drawing the treasures for Forbidden Island is the player deck in Pandemic. So it has a lot of very similar mechanisms to Pandemic. However, you finish this game in 20 to 30 minutes, which Pandemic's not that much longer, but this one is a lot easier to grasp. There's a lot less choices, a lot easier to bring someone in or for a younger kid to play as well. If maybe Pandemic's just a little bit too far advanced for somebody, bring Forbidden Island out. And not only that, but it's good for, you know, if you finish up game night and you've got 20 to 30 minutes to kill, the setup's real fast and you can knock it out real fast. So in that instance, it is much quicker when you think about the setup and teardown than Pandemic as well. I know we've finished off several game nights, one of my game groups has, with this game. Forbidden Island, number 8 with 12 plays. Number 7 is another new one to the list. This one got 13 plays this year. Very short, quick game. This is an abstract game that kind of tries to throw a little bit of theme on top. This is Hive. This is a game, imagine, I suppose you could say chess with bugs, but that's not really, that doesn't really do it justice. It's not just a chess variant. It only feels like chess in the sense that, you know, you have different pieces that have specific ways they can move, and you're trying to protect a particular piece. Other than that, it's completely different. There's no board. This is just you and your opponent start out by setting 2 pieces down, and everything has to build off of that. You cannot start your pieces by having them touch your opponent. You have to start them touching your own bugs, and then you can move out from there. And there are these hexagon. I want to say they're hexagons, but they form, you know, kind of a honeycomb-looking shape as the pieces build out, and that's kind of where it gets the name Hive from. Besides the fact there's a whole bunch of different types of bugs in it, you've got grasshoppers and spiders. The queen bee is what you're trying to protect. This one, the pieces are very sturdy, pieces that are heavy enough to withstand wind, and you're not gonna worry about them getting damaged with sand or dirt or anything like that. So you can take them outside, take them anywhere you go, play on the go. It comes in a little bag. If you get there's a version that comes in a little bag, or you can get the version that has a box, but I'd recommend the travel bag because it makes it way easier to carry this around. my number 7, Hive. Number 6 got 14 plays. This is also a brand new one to the list. This is a long game. It is currently my number 1 favorite game on my favorite games of all time video, which came out just recently. And this is Mage Knight, the board game. This game is, it's a deck building game that doesn't really, I guess it does emphasize the deck building, because if you don't build a good deck, you're not going to be able to beat the final round of the game. However, at the same time, you only go through your deck once per round, and there's usually not more than about 6 rounds in a game, maybe 8 rounds in a game. So with that in mind, you got to be sure you know what you're doing when you're taking cards, and if you're going to be getting rid of any cards. And you're going along this modular map, you're exploring, you're fighting, orcs and minotaurs. And do you fight orcs? I believe those were orcs, or are they goblins? One of the two. They little green guys that you're going to fight. Orcs. Pretty sure they're orcs. Yeah, they're definitely orcs. And as you go along, if you're playing the main conquest version, you end up locating a couple of cities that you have to conquer. Or if you're playing, there's a version where you're liberating mines and all kinds of different stuff like that. And this is a game that I would not recommend with more than 2 players. I have played with 2 players. I don't think I would play with 3 players unless we just had 3 people, me and 2 other people who really wanted to do it. Just because there is a lot of downtime in a 2-player game, there's a lot of downtime. So I'd recommend 2 players. I mainly play it solo. It's a ton of fun for that. This is the first game that I played that I realized solo was a viable option. I'd played some Wrath of Ashardalon solo. That one just didn't quite give it to me. This one though, I really enjoy it. Mage Knight, the board game, my number 1 favorite game, is my number 6 most played of the past year. Number 5 got 16 plays. This one is another new game. Got this one for Christmas this past year. 7 Wonders Duel. 16 plays of this over the past year, and I have just really, everybody I've introduced this to has asked, hey, let's play that one more time. And this is, they took the idea of drafting, and they, instead of passing the cards back and forth, you build this kind of pyramid-esque structure on the board. It's obviously 2D, it's not a 3D pyramid, but it's laid down, and the first row you can see, the second row is all hidden. The third row you can see, the fourth row is hidden. And you can't get any of these cards that are hidden, you can't flip them over until you uncover them, you draft the cards that are below them. And once you go through the first stage, then you do an upside down pyramid. And once you go through the second age, then you do it's this weird kind of hourglass-ish shape thing. And you draft from each of these different things, and there's different cards. You leave some cards out each game, so you don't know exactly what's in there. And it's got a lot of that feel of 7 Wonders, which I have not played very much, but it's got a lot of that feel while packing. The game probably takes 25 minutes at the most. Looks like I think we average 28 minutes, so there you go. I really enjoyed this a lot. Like I said, I only played 7 Wonders once, maybe twice, but this one I enjoy more than that. I don't even own the original 7 Wonders. Haven't really felt the need to buy it. If you want a really good, compelling 2-player game, this also adds instant win scenarios where if somebody gets enough military and you don't, retaliate, then it's an instant win. Same thing with science. So my number 5, 7 Wonders Duel, 16 plays. Number 3 is a 2-way tie, so technically 3 and 4. We got number 3 here at 2-way tie with 18 plays. Both these games are new. One's a really short game. One is a medium-length game. We're talking about Love Letter Batman and Pandemic Legacy. So, where to start? Love Letter Batman is, I played the original Love Letter, and I played this one. I don't have any desire to go seeking out all the different variations of Love Letter. I don't have any desire to go buy the original Love Letter. This one is perfectly fine with me. Really wish they hadn't called it Love Letter Batman. That was stupid. Batman, a Love Letter game, something like that. That's an old news, dead horse. No need to talk about that anymore. This game is a ton of fun, and keep in mind when I say 18 plays, we're not talking about the individual rounds, we're talking about to a full game of 7 points. And with that in mind, getting to 7 points, average game time 18 minutes. I think I've only had one game that ever went over 25 minutes. You can knock it out real fast. You can get 2 or 3 games in during lunch, however you want to do it. You only have the one card in your hand. You draw one, you decide which one you're going to play. You're trying to knock everybody out. Easy peasy, very simple. Pandemic Legacy. Oh man, wow, this game was, I say was because we finished at this point. This game was quite an experience. I know that there are people who, I'm talking about right now, I'm done with the game, I'm never going to play it again. And that is what a lot of people don't like about this game, but for me, it was worth the experience. The wife and I played this one, over the course of several months, and it's just not an experience that you could really recreate with any other method. I don't care that technically we could have just stuck cards in the box and not torn them up. The fact that you had to do that is what made it such a viscerally enjoyable experience. And I can't wait for the second season. I got Seafall on the way. Pandemic Legacy. And now I will say this, that apparently if you were familiar with some of the expansions for the only expansion I ever played for Pandemic was in the lab. If you were familiar with the other expansions, I guess some of the stuff that showed up in this game was taken from those expansions. Well, for me, it was all brand new, so that could certainly add to how much we played the game. But that being said, loved it. Loved this game. Number 3, 18 plays. Just, I will say, by the way, you don't want to live. You don't want me to be in charge of dealing with a crisis like this. Things got really bad, really bad. But the United States was all right, so that was okay. And Asia was okay. Asia came out really well, actually, so good on them. Pandemic Legacy, Batman Love Letter. Number 2, with 22 plays, yet another new game to the list, and this is Sushi Go, a drafting game you can play with 3 players, and we have played it a lot with 3 players. This is one the kiddo likes and the wife likes. Really easy to teach to everybody. All the cute little sushis on it. Pass it around. Get a game played in about 13 minutes is what we do. Really fast, which obviously helps it reach the level of 22 plays in a year. The different types of sushi that you have to worry about, different types of scoring, really add some interesting choices. I know that Sushi Go Party or something like that, Party Sushi Go, whatever it's called, just I believe it's coming out right now. I believe it's in the process of being released, or it might be out already. I need to take a look at that, see if that might be something worth getting. However, like I said, most of the time we play this with 3 people. I don't know that we've ever had a situation, maybe once or twice, where we wished we were able to play more than 5, because 5 is the max for this game. Comes in a real small box, really easy to transport, easy to teach. People pick up on it very quickly, even people who aren't used to board games. So if any of that sounds good to you, I would highly, highly recommend Sushi Go as a go-to card drafting game to take with you wherever you go and to introduce new people to. And my number 1 most played game of the past year is Splendor. I got 32 plays of this in. The vast majority of these were with the wife. In fact, with the exception of a couple of games that I played with the kiddo, I think all 32 plays. So probably 30 of these plays are with the wife. This one is, you're basically building a small little engine. You start out with tier 1 cards, which kind of represent gem mines and ruby mines and all this kind of stuff, and you're getting them, and each of them will help you produce more of those, so then you can buy higher tier cards, and then obviously more of those, buy tier 3 cards, and you start being worth more prestige points, and the first person to 15 prestige points wins. Extremely abstract. Only the lightest bare minimum of theme is pasted onto this. Don't play it. You're not playing this game for the theme. You're playing the game because it's got these awesome poker chips for the gems, and because you can play it in 22 minutes, and because it's pretty easy to pick up on while still offering some pretty good choices. Some people say that it seems to be that the first player has an advantage of winning. I don't see how that's possible, even though sometimes it seems that way, but then again, we're only playing 2 players most of the time, so one of us has to win. 50-50 shot. if the first player does have an advantage, it's only slightly. I don't believe that it's, because the thing is, when you, whoever gets to 15 points first, the game continues until everyone has the same number of turns. So I really don't see how the first player could have that big of an advantage. I really should run the stats and see what that comes out to. But anyway, Splendor is a ton of fun. It's won the Spiel des Jahres 1 year, so that has that going for it. And you can find it in a lot of mass market stores these days. I know I've seen it in Target before, possibly Walmart. Anyway, Splendor, not very expensive. Give it a try. My #1 most played game of the past year. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 plus one, plus a few more games of the past year as far as number of plays go. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you like my channel, please subscribe. You can find me on Twitter at boredoffline. You can find me on Board Game Geek. We have a guild over there. Find that link in the description below. And until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.